Welcome to another DCOA, which is Drake Council on Aging art tutorial. I am Joan Turner. I am the resident artist at the Drake Council on Aging, and we have been doing tutorials now for a good 2 years or so. So lots of you have been doing these and hopefully sending us pictures, letting us know what everything looks like. Okay, today we are doing this picture. This is, I kind of nicknamed it Jade Moon. It has a very oriental look to it. And I don't see, I don't see a signature on it. So I don't really know if it is, but it looks very Asian to me, or Japanese. So we're going to do this. So you should have a copy of it. If you can take a still of this from this recording, do that. If you are getting your newsletter online, you can get it from there. Or if you're getting a physical newsletter, they're usually on there as well. So join me, join me. What will you need? I bet most of you already know, but you will need a canvas. You can use any size canvas you want. You can paint on wood, you can paint on canvas boards. I wouldn't really paint on paper unless it was like a really heavy tag board. And even at that, if you're someone who's heavy-handed with the paint, you're going to have a little bit of wobbly stuff. So I would say wood, canvas panel, wrapped canvas. Stretched wrapped canvas is stretched and wrapped around a wooden frame, okay? And a canvas board is just canvas paper kind of glued onto cardboard. It just looks like a board that has canvas on the front of it, okay? You will also need palettes, which I am using paper plates for because I'm a little bit lazy and it's easy cleanup. So I have many palettes, wooden ones, plastic ones, covered ones, and I still use the paper plates because after I'm done with them, I can just whip them into the trash. So yeah, if you have a palette and you want to use it, that's fine. If not, paper plates. And I usually have more than one because I usually put paints on one, mix on the other. I usually have some cotton swabs nearby. Let me see, it was a good spot. And just for quick cleanups. Like if you get a dab of paint over here and you want to just pick it up real fast, cotton swabs, you make things a little bit easier, right? You will need paper towels. Where art thou? Okay, paper towels. Have lots of paper towels around. Brushes. If you are getting DCOA art kits, you are getting small, medium, and large brushes, and that's exactly what you should use. Okay, so we have brushes. I have water dishes, and I say dishes with an S because if I had to stay here and clean each brush as we're doing tutorials, it just takes up time. So I have 3 of these on the seat beside me. So when I first use a brush, I put it in there, I might swish it around a little bit, and I put it in the second one, swish a little bit more, and then the third one, the fluid, the water is actually pretty clear, and so most of the paint ends up in bowls 1 and 2. Okay, so this just makes it a little bit faster for me to have clean brushes. You don't need to have 3 bowls. You can have just one. But I do suggest putting them in something different than a plastic drinking cup or something like that. Because as you're painting, you kind of get involved in what you're doing. And I can't tell you how many times I drank my paint water. It's not fun, not fun whatsoever. Okay, so you will need paints. Okay, what color paints? You will need white paints. You will need red paint, green paint, brown paint, let me see, a black paint. Okay, so what you're going to need is like all the colors that are in here. If in fact you don't have brown paint, and a lot of you have added to the DCOA art kits and have your own paints and brushes and all that good stuff. But if you don't, all right, if you just have the basic colors and the black and the white, if you mix red, and well, let me say mix green first. Okay, so green is yellow and blue, so you make a nice color green, And then if you want brown, you mix some of the green with the red, and that'll give you brown, right? So we are going to use some of those colors. Um, need blue. I think I said that. All right. So the blue is in the water. Blue in the water. There is a very dark green over here. So we're going to do greens and browns. For the sky, we're going to do whites and a little bit of black in there. So we're going to create a gray sky, but we want it to be kind of moody and moony like that. All right. So we're going to do, or you are absolutely will need a circle. All right. So I'm using 16 by 20 canvas. Again, you can use any size canvas that you want. You could use an 8 by 10, a 9 by 12. You could use a 14 by 11 by 14. So any kind of standard size is probably a good size, but you can actually paint on any size. So we want to do this great big huge moon here. The great big huge moon. I see things in reverse on screen, so if I'm going the opposite direction, you think I should go. That would be why. Okay, going backwards. Okay, so I need a big moon over there. So I actually am going to use one of my paper plates to create a big moon. So that being the case, we'll need a pencil as well. So I am going to go get one right this very moment. Now you can use a was going to say a copper pencil. You can use a colored pencil if you want to, if you have one. It totally is not necessary. You can use just a regular graphite pencil. Okay. So I'm going to, let me see if we got everything covered. Wear art clothes, because we're using acrylic paints. Once they dry, they become permanent. And my art clothes, I actually bleach them in between wear, and I still get paint all over the place. I mean, it doesn't come out, is what I'm getting at. If it gets on your clothes and it's wet, rush into the bathroom and do some warm water and soap, and you may get it out. Once it dries, it becomes permanent. I have an art studio that I'm working in. If you're working somewhere where you're afraid of splashes and so on and so forth, cover tables, cover floors, cover anything you want to protect. Again, if you get something on the floor, it's wet, you can kind of maybe get it off of there. I'm looking at my makeup. What's going on here? Let's see the other side. That whole backward thing. So cover things, cover and if you do get paint on stuff, try to clean it right away. Again, covering is the best bet because you may not see it in time. Okay, so I'm trying to move everything out of the way here. All right. The only other thing that you must have is your hot cocoa. Okay. Very difficult to be creative and wonderful unless you have your hot cocoa nearby. So make sure you have your hot cocoa or some similarly wonderful drink. Okay. So you can be happy while we're doing this, right? So let us begin by finding a really good view so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to move you here like this. Here is my canvas. And if I were to do this, you would see it. So let me tell you that I'm holding the canvas horizontally, which is from side to side. Vertically is up and down, but we're going to use a side by side. And also, unless I'm talking at the speaker on the camera, sometimes it comes out a little muffly. So I'm going to try to remember to face the canvas. I mean, I am going to face the canvas so I can see what I'm doing. I need to face the computer speaker as well. So I'm going to try to remember to do that. We have a wonderful editing person called Ron Zimmerman at the DATV and the very awesome Tara Splinar at BATV. So, so they do work miracles and magic. We try to not make them work quite so hard. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I do not. So here is my try and face so that it will hear me. And let's see, I don't know. All right, so let's just do it. Let's just do it to it. Once again, um, we need to kind of figure out where our moon is going to go. That's the first thing that we want to do. And another reason it's a good idea to have your source picture nearby is because it'll help you decide where things go. Now this moon is relatively close to the top of the canvas, but it's not right up against the edge. All right, this water line is about a third of the way, actually a little bit more. Maybe that's third. And if you're one of those people that has to do exact, you can use a ruler to measure this side and divide it by 3 if you want to see if it's exactly a third. But I don't feel the necessity to do that. I think, wherever you put the water line is going to be okay. So the moon, on the other hand, if I put my pencil in the middle of the paper, I think the moon is in the middle. I think it's in the center of the canvas. So, and how big do I want that moon? Is this plate actually big enough to do what I want it to do? And so I'm gonna. We probably could do something a little bit bigger, but I'm gonna say that that's big enough for that. I might have something bigger. So, but I'm liking it. Let's take a quick look around and see if we have something even bigger and rounder. And you do the same thing. Decide, and obviously, if you have a smaller canvas, you're gonna make you want it to cover the same percentage, but your percentage is going to be a bit different if you have a different size canvas. All right, so let's go take a look and see what we got. So I think I didn't find anything really bigger than this paper plate, which, like I said, in this case, my canvas is big, so I need something big. So I'm going to just go ahead and a little bit from the top and about a third of the way from the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and make my circle. So go ahead and make your circle. All right, once you get that circle on the canvas, let's do this. And try to sit so that my face, my mouth, is closer to the speaker. So put your circle on and know that that's going to be your red moon, your jade moon. Okay? Jade moon. Let's see. Jade moon. And let's give ourselves now that we have our circle for our jade moon, let's give ourselves a water line. And if you look really close at this picture, the bottom of the circle is in the water. Okay, so that means this water line is going to come up over the very bottom of the moon. So maybe right about here. So just give yourself a guideline of where that's going. And I'm going to go all the way across. Okay, so now I have guidelines. And that's pretty much all the guidelines we need right now, because as with any kind of acrylic painting or even an oil painting, you got to work from the back forward. And what I mean by that is the things that are the closest to us are in the foreground or forward. The things that are further away from us are in the background or further away. Okay, so the thing that's further away from us here is the sky. So we're going to do the sky first. All right, and then the next thing that's closest to us is actually the moon. And then on top of that moon, these clouds. Okay, so we're going to put those clouds in. Then, after we do that, we're going to put in our water, because the water is behind the landmass. So we're going to put in our water, and then the landmass is on the same plane as the tree. So if you get really, really close, you can see the landmass is here, and it finishes about 3/4 of the way across the picture. So we're going to start the landmass over the water line, come all the way over to here. And then we're going to put the tree on the top. So the tree is one of the last things we're going to do because it's closer to us. And the very closest thing to us are these white leaves through here, this white leafing. And if you look really close, it looks like it's just kind of dabbed on there with a brush or even a cotton swab or a pencil paint point or eraser on the pencil, wherever it might be. Okay, so now that you know the order things are going in, let us do it. Let's do it to it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is with our white paint. So remember, you need white, black, red, green, brown, brown, black, red, green, brown, white. These clouds, they may look brown to you, and they sort of they are red with a little bit of brown in them, and artists will know that as like a Tuscan red. Okay, Tuscan red is red or a maroony color, but to make it, you have to mix red and a little bit of brown. Okay. So let us go ahead and do that. So to do that, I need my palette, and I'm going to put white paint on my palette. So let's move this here and this stuff out of the way. And just for a moment, I'm going to show you what my palette is doing after I have some cocoa, which is extremely hot. Oh, yamola, yamola. Okay, back to it, back to it. So I'm going to take some white paint, and that background takes up about two thirds of the picture here. So we're going to need quite a bit of white. If I can get it open, and just the teeniest bit of black, because and why is because black is a much stronger color than white is. Let me see if I can get this open. Open sesame. Ugh. Oh, hey, success. Success. All right. So, some people ask me, why do you not use that nozzle, Joan? And the answer is because the paint is dry inside the nozzle and will not dispense the paint. So, that means I have to open it. And all that those dry paint is on there. So let's take that off. So I'm going to, hopefully you can see that. I'm going to put quite a bit of white on my palette because I want to have, I am going to mix some of the black with it, but I want to leave some of just the pure white also. That way, in case I make anything really too dark, I can fix it. Okay, so I'm going to put my white there. So I put my white away, and this is Mars black. You can use any kind of black your heart desires. And like I said, if you have a DCOA art kit, you can add to it now that we can kind of get out a little bit more. I know some people are still kind of staying in. They may not feel comfortable with heading on out. So but if you can, or if you have someone who goes out and doesn't mind picking up the stuff for you, that's good too. Just make sure to get the right stuff with an acrylic paint. So the good thing, I only need a little of this because that's exactly kind of what's left in this container. Okay, I'm going to use the largest brush that I have. And by largest, I mean the brush that is flat. It's probably probably about an inch. Let me see here. India, 68, Princeton Select, over 1 inch. All right, good call, good call. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this white and use just a little over here and take just a little black and see how nice and light that is. All right, I'm going to start putting it on my canvas like this. Oh wait, okay, like this. All right, and I am kind of working around my moon. If you get some on your moon, don't worry about it because you're probably going to have to readjust that a couple of times before we're done. All right, so I'm just taking some white and adding it to my canvas. Do your edges. That way, if you don't want to frame this, you don't have to. Okay, so the idea here is we want to get a nice even coat and nice even coat. What are we using here, Bob? We want a nice even coat on the whole background, but we're also going to add in a little bit of swirl and anything that gives it a little bit of texture. Because again, look at this picture. It has the white kind of shimmering around the red moon, and the edges are kind of darker here. So what I want to do is mostly get that white on here. Okay. So I'm going to go to the other side now. Going around my moon. Okay, we want a teensy bit of black in here. So again, that's, don't waste your paints. Just a little bit of black. You can always add a little bit more if you need it or if you want it. But for right now, we're looking for some nice even coverage here. Okay, I'm going to tip this over and do the top. Again, the advantage to doing that is if I finish this picture and I really like it and I want to frame it, all well and good. If I can't afford to frame it or I don't want to frame it, I do not have to because the picture continues on the side. Now, I will tell you that most artists will frame their work, especially if they're going to try and sell it. They'll frame it because the frame actually adds to the beauty of the picture, especially if it's exactly the right frame. And most professional artists, when they go to school and stuff, they are taught how to stretch the canvas themselves. And you go to an art show, and these pictures are selling for like thousands of dollars. The cost point is a lot higher. So the quality, the time it takes to stretch the canvas, the quality of the paints, if you're using like really artist grade paints. So at this point, I would say most of us are using student grade paints and canvases. And these are awesome for fun paints and for what we're doing here. Okay, if you decide you're gonna want to try and make a living out of it, then you want to look into stretching canvases and what kind of paints are highest grades. So I'm going around my moon, round and round my moon. And like I said, I'm sure that I will end up adjusting that outer rim a few times. Okay, so again, I'm looking over here and I notice that my grays are darkest around the corners here. So I am taking my black and mixing up a kind of a darker color here. And let's put it over here so we can see what it looks like. And I'm going to have to stand after all, but I'll try to speak into the speaker. Okay, so I'm bringing my corners in darker, darker. Okay, darker, darker into here. Right, and now I'm just I want it to be a little bit stormy looking. So now I'm not using nice bright or smooth strokes, actually kind of making it stormy. That's a lot of black paint. Let's bring it across the top. And again, I'm going to kind of make it not smooth. I want it to look cloudy and even a little bit stormy. Excuse-moi. A little bit more darker, darker. And you can see I'm really, I have this picture right in my hand. I'm really looking at it. And my eyes are going from it to my canvas. Okay, have it here. More dark, more dark around the corners, around the edges. And I'm swirling. Okay, take another look here. See that? It's not a nice smooth, it's a swirl. Gonna pick up a little bit of white on my brush and move it through this darker area. Need to bring some of my dark way down here. And at this point, it's coming out kind of gray because there's a lot of white on the background, certainly. We went nice and dark in here. Okay, a little swirl here and there. Do I need any more dark anywhere? So you want to put the dark where you want it, and then blend it in. If you need to blend it in a little. So I want dark up there, I want dark down here, I want dark near the waterline. And if I look at this, I want to go darker, darker still. My students make fun of me because I said, go darker, darker. Right up here, I'm going to go really darker, darker. Right here, and over in this corner too. I'm going to add more darker, darker. You see it? A little bit more darker, darker here because I want it coming down here. There's some way, way down here. Let's go darker, darker. Darker, darker. Gonna have some of that darker, darker coming out here. But as the paintbrush runs out of paint and I go into the whiter areas, that darker, darker turns into more grayish color. Okay, let's come way down here. Now over here is going to be our land mass over in this area. do that edge. Okay, let's see. We darker, darker. Oh, nice. Liking it, liking it. Okay, now take a look at this. And I have quite a bit of paint on my brush. So I think I'm going to take the paper towel and I'm going to take any excess paint off of my brush. Okay, I'm not going to wash it. I just want to dry it as much as I can with a paper towel. And the reason for this is that I would like to dry brush some of this background because when I look over here, look how nice and smooth and blended. And over here, it's not as blended. So if you want to actually blend something a little bit more, especially if it's this wet, then you're going to just dry the brush, or you could use a dry brush certainly. But let's just take all the excess paint off of here, and let's see. That's that's pretty dry. That's pretty dry. Okay. So now that my brush is dry, when I run it across here, I'm going to be able to kind of brush out some of these edges. Now, let me see how close I can get here, because I really, this students have like the toughest time getting this kind of concept. So now I'm not pressing really hard on the brush at all. Actually, just a feather touch. Okay, I'm going to keep cleaning my brush because as I do this to my canvas, the brush is picking up a little bit more paint. But see how it's fuzzing those boundary lines? So now we have almost like cloudiness rather than just these strokes. Okay, so I'm starting on this side, keeping this brush as dry as I can, then very lightly. So we have some really nice light areas here. Okay, so just really, really light, and feather, just a feathery touch here. Okay, so when I start seeing brush strokes again, clean off your brush, because that means that the brush is picking up the paint. So I'm going to clean this once again. There we go. And as I say, students seem to have a tough time with this particular technique, but it's worth learning if you're going to continue to paint because it's such a nice look, such a nice look. This nice blended area. Look, nice. Okay, so we're taking out the that kind of heavy lines and seeing how it actually looks like all kind of one cloud, but just darker in some areas than others. So these tutorials run pretty long, generally speaking, usually 2, 3 hours sometimes. So one we had went almost 4. So if you need to do this in a couple of sittings, go ahead and just stop it and pick it up at another time. And the other thing that I think is worth repeating from tutorial to tutorial is that if in fact I'm going too fast for you, just pause the recording and catch up. If in fact I am going too slow for you, and you wouldn't think that that would be an issue, but it has been in some cases, don't go ahead of me. Wait for me. Okay. And the reason that I advise that is because a lot of times students will go ahead and then when they get to, when I catch up with them, they go, oh, I did not do it like this. No wonder why it doesn't look the way I want it to. So then they go back and they try to fix it and they try to paint over mistakes and so on and so forth. So if I'm going too slow for you, please wait for me. Go get a drink. Go clean your brushes off. Go do something else. Okay? And wait for me to catch up with you. Okay, so again, instead of touch, there's a little bit more paint on this side than that side. So I'm having to clean the brush off more, and that's absolutely okay. Go with the process. Now that's a nice area in there. Very cool. Okay, so practically just touching the canvas enough to get the paint to move. Okay, I think that looks really cool. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of white on the corner of my brush and put a little bit more white in here. Again, barely touching the canvas, but I can manipulate that. I liking it. Okay, and you're gonna do the same thing on the other side and around the top because see this white aura around this moon? We want that. We want to see it. So I'm picking up just a little bit of white just on the corner of my brush and just folding that in, just brushing it in. Okay, I'm not putting a lot of paint on the brush because then I'll have to go through the whole blending process again if I get too much on there. So just a little bit, just brushing in a little bit, and then blending. Okay, so I'm starting to get a little bit of moon glow going on here. Okay, so right around this, the perimeter of this moon, that has some nice moon glow. There we go. I bowl with a group of awesome people, and they're like, "Oh my God, we really like these tutorials, blah blah blah, this and that. How about coming to doing them at the bowling alley?" And I'm like, "Well," I said, "it couldn't hurt to try." I said, "We will talk to them and find out if we can." Ah, that hot cocoa is so yamola. Okay, little bit more moon glow. Clean off that brush. Remember that your brush has to be relatively dry in order to blend on this level. And if you get too much moon glow, certainly you can darken it with a little bit of black. But I'm gonna wait and see what it looks like here. So we have quite a bit of aura around this particular moon. See here. Okay. So now I'm gonna do the same thing and just dip the corner of my brush into the black. Okay. And only because see where these kind of meet in there? I want them to be a little bit smoother than they are. So we want this really white, white, white to really kind of blend and go gradually from light to dark. So we're going light, a little bit darker, darker, darker till we get into our gray. Okay, so let's just let this sit for like a couple of minutes and see what happens here. So we want to continue to just blend, and again, we want the whitest parts here to kind of be around the moon. We're looking for a moon glow. So really rubbing this paint into the canvas here. Okay, when you get it the way that you like it, we're going to do the moon next. So remember the steps or the stages here. So we're doing the background first, right? Because that's what's furthest away from the viewer. And then the next furthest thing away is the actual moon itself. Okay, now this moon looks like just a red moon, but it's a little teensy bit darker here. So we're going to put some red on our palette. If we can find our other palette. Oh, I see it. Okay, so I'm going to put red on here, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of orange. And if you don't have orange, mixing red and yellow will give you some orange. So I'm going to move. I want you to be able to see everything that I am doing here. I'm going to move this palette that we were working on underneath here, and I'm going to get a new palette. Let's move you back a little bit, and so you can see what I'm doing here, which is blowing my nose. Okay, good. Oh, I want some red, and I like the red to be as red as I can get it. So I want some moon red in here. Maybe I'm going to do the whole thing red first. I'm going to put a little bit of brown in here. Burnt umber is the darkest brown that I have. And you can, because you're making your own brown, you can make it as dark as you want, or as light as you want. I'm switching because this is a little dried out. Let's try this brown. And this is another burnt umber. It's just another tube. Okay, so a little bit of burnt umber came out of here, and I'm going to leave just that little bit because I just want to darken some of my red and a little bit of orange. If you don't have orange, again, red and yellow, which you do have because they're the primary colors. Holy guacamole. Okay, let's see. All right, so I put a lot of orange out there, probably more than I needed. That's okay. Okay, I'm gonna put this here, like this. And let me just go a little bit more. And I do not have a cold, but allergy season. And even though I don't have allergies per se, if the pollen is high enough, it makes my eyes water, nose run. Anyway, okay, take a brush. I'm going to use a medium brush for this. Look. And I'm going to paint the whole moon red. I am going to stop at this waterline, so I'll put it in now for you. This is where my guideline is. So I'm not necessarily going to go below that point yet, okay? We do want to have some red in the water, but it's going to not be solid like that. So very carefully, and like I said, if you need to redefine that moon line, go right ahead and do it. And your hand actually has a very small comfort zone, so feel free to move the canvas around. It was out of round, just a little bit there. So I'm going to take this canvas and move it this way, because again, your hand has a small comfort zone, and you want to keep your hand in its comfort zone. Let's see here. Okay. Can't see my line anymore. Oh wait, I can see it. I can see it. Okay, so your moon should not look like a marshmallow. Should not look like a red marshmallow. So let's take a look here and see. Kind of looks like a red marshmallow. So look to see where it's out of round. Or actually maybe take your plate again. Yeah. Okay, so where am I out of round? Right here. I'm gonna take this off. Gonna fix some of this here. So again, you want your moon round, uh, not like a marshmallow. I'm cleaning up some of my lines. Okay, let's look here. This. Okay, so I was a little out of round over here. So, I mean, you could make it bigger all the way around, but then the moon just keeps getting larger and larger and larger. And then you find another out of round, and then you try to fix that. So I would say rather than do that, take one of your cotton swabs, just pick her up. Okay. All right, I'm gonna put this in. I dunked it in the water. Okay, and because the paint is still relatively wet, I can get it off of there relatively easily. Okay, so I still have a little kind of pinky stuff going on there. Looks like this side is out a little too. But I'm gonna take my white, okay, and with the smaller brush, I'm gonna just go over that side that's a little pink. So just kind of fixing it, if you will. Okay, let's do this side too. Let me see here, my little marshmallow moon. Where's the wet one? Oh, there it is. Just cleaning off the tiniest point here. Okay, so now when I look at it, it doesn't look like a marshmallow anymore. So once again, I'm going to take my white. Let me fix this here. Okay, so while I am fixing this, my red is drying just a little bit. I stuck my brush in the black paint. There doesn't seem to be a way for me to stay clean here. Every single time I paint, whether it's online or in person, I seem to go ahead and make a mess. Okay, fixing that. Once more on this side. There we go. All right. I'm putting the brushes that I'm not using, I'm sitting them in the water. And we do that so that the paint doesn't dry in the brushes. You do not want the paint to dry in the brushes. Okay, so let's see, give you a good view here. Okay, so our moon is flat on the bottom because that part is behind the water. Okay, see it? See how it kind of flattens out right there? So now I'm going to take some of my red here, like this, and add some brown to it. That's going to give me a nice Tuscan red. So again, Tuscan red, it's just a very brownish, it's a very brownish red. And it makes a wonderful, makes a nice contrast to the moon here, to our red moon, our Japanese moon. How cool is that? Move my ink out of the way here. Okay, so I'm going to put some more on there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to come all the way to over here a little bit. So again, I'm just kind of giving myself some guide strokes here and here. So I want this like quarter moon part to be kind of reddish, but this can be kind of brownish. There we go. Okay. And this does come all, this brownish does come all the way to the edge of this moon. So, I'm once again going to work right around that edge and try not to make it look like a marshmallow this time. It's so satisfying when it comes out right. Okay, come on, keep going. And don't like talk or breathe or anything when you try to do this. It has to be right because it really, really gives the moon some depth. So if you have to breathe, stop. Go. There we go. And again, don't let this baby get out of round. Look, I have to say, this is one of my favorite color combinations. It's kind of white, red, black. I know it's kind of Christmassy, but it's also kind of Japanesey. Um, it's just very eye-catching to me. Okay, and we want it really to come right up to here, right here. So when you're going around the perimeter of that moon, go really slow, take your time. And this other side, let it, it's okay if it blends in with the red that's already there. Kind of looks nice that it does. This goes right into the water line. Let's flip this over once again because, again, keep your hand in its comfort zone. And as the paint dries a little bit on the canvas, it starts to really smooth out nice. Right across this bottom here. Let's turn it back around. Okay, nice and smooth. Our moon should be nice and smooth. Although this brown on it and a little bit orange does give it some texture. We liking it. We're liking it. Okay, so just smoothing out some of those strokes. I'm gonna dip back into just my red and just kind of give this side another coat. Nice thick coat of red here. And again, blending in where the two different values meet. Okay, so we have a really kind of dark here. We have a nice light there. And we're just gonna let them meet each other and say hello. Okay, go darker, darker on this side again. Okay. So can you see that? I'm gonna do the same thing with this brush that I did with the other one, which is take all the excess paint off of it, and then I'm going to dry brush my moon. Now, again, you could just use a different brush if you have them. Let me see what I have here. So what I'm looking for is a nice soft brush. This one's pretty soft. So I'm going to put this one in the water. This one I'm going to put in the water. And this brush is completely dry. So if you don't have an extra brush, dry off your brush really, really well. And very feathery, feathery, light touches into here. Just to blend everything together. You're going to see how the paint collects on the brush. So let's clean that off and continue to blend. Oop, I just threw my paper on the floor. Light, feathery touch. And as, like I said, as the paint kind of dries a little bit more on here, it's even a little bit easier to blend. So if you wanted to, you could wait a few minutes, not too long. You don't want it to be completely dry. Or you could just stand it for like maybe 30 seconds. Acrylic paints dry relatively fast, so it doesn't take long for it to get kind of tacky. It's not really wet anymore, but it's not really dry either. And that is a good place for it to be in order for you to actually blend or smooth out the colors. Okay, so let's put that over there for a moment. And once again, I'm going to kind of just take the excess off of here. And let's see what happens now. There we go. There we go. So again, paint is starting to dry just a little, but it's still wet enough for me to move it along. Okay, clean off the excess. Barely touching the canvas. Don't go over your boundary lines. No marshmallows. I think I might have a marshmallow. I think this side is too marshmallowy. So let's see what we can do here. So I'm taking my smaller brush, cleaning. Now at this point, the paint is probably too dry to use a Q-tip, but maybe not. Let's try it and see. And let's see where I want to go with this. I think I want to take just that edge off. So let's put you in here. And I'm going to just take the Q-tip and very easily go around that edge just a little bit. So I'm going to just scrape off that teensy bit of an edge here. And then with my small brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the white and go right around here and clean up this edge. And this is one of those don't breathe moments. Okay. All right. So this brush is going in the water. And then I have my dry brush again. And now my moon is probably even a little drier. And it is. It's really, really easy now to do this. Look. Awesome, awesome. Picking up a little bit of brown, putting it here, because I think I took a little bit more off than I wanted to. So that's a good part about acrylics. They're workables. Cool, cool. Little bit of red in there. Okay, so we're just reblending. Okay, I'll let that dry out just a bit. And now with the brush that I was using to blend with, I'm going to take and dip into my orange. Okay, here's my orange. That dip quite a bit here. And put some nice glow in here. Look what that does to that moon. Gives it a nice glow. You see that? Orange on red. Nice, nice glow to our moon. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the brush because there's a lot of paint on here. And I really don't want to wipe it off at all. Just want to blend it in here. Nice. Liking it. So I'm going to poke some of the orange into my red. Pretty similar to what we did to the sky. We want some variation of color in there. Okay, so getting a little thick with my orange. A little bit more down here, I think. Okay, then I want to kind of blend into my red right here. Here. Oops. Put the orange there. Red here. So I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on the brush right now because, like I said, there's an awful lot of paint on this moon. And if I really start putting a lot of pressure on the moon, it will just take the paint off. It'll just move the paint away. We don't want it to do that. Okay. So I'm actually going to let this dry out even a little bit more. And then I'm going to dry brush it one last time. So let's just move this away from you. And let's just fan it for a few seconds. Okay, and while that's drying out just a tad, let's take the brush that we were using for the red. Find our paper towel again. I go through mega amounts of paper towels. And I need to give myself some more red because I used all of my red on that moon. And I'm probably going to do another little bit of a coat on there. So give myself a little bit of red. But what I want to do is this work here, okay, because the next thing we want to do with our moon is do this water line, all right? So we have this blue over here. So let's put this red in first. Okay, so the red, I'm going to dip my brush in the red. Okay, so it's kind of doing this. But then I want this to almost come to a point here. So I'm going to kind of find my middle, almost all the way canvas here. So just give myself some guide dots. Okay, and this comes past here like this, and past here like this, and then it kind of zigzags here, but it gets smaller as it comes down here. Okay, so I'm going to dip in the red yet again because those are guide zigzags. Okay, so let's guide our zigzags down here. Okay, almost coming to the bottom, almost. All right, now there's more here, but I just want this as kind of a guide here because I'm going to make the rest of the water, but I want to know where that red is going. Okay, so I'm going to turn it towards me just a little here so I can see what that looks like. Okay, so don't make these lines scoopy or wavy. Just kind of keep them straight back and forth for now. I'm going to pick up my paint because I keep dropping it on the floor. Here it is. Okay, let's put it over there. And now I'm just going to kind of let it dry a bit. And I'm going to mix my watercolors. And I don't mean watercolor paints, I mean mix the color for my water. Okay, so if I look at that, it's a very almost a brownish bluish color with white in there. So I need to clean my brush quite well, and I'm actually going to use a kind of a big brush here. All right, so I need some blue. Get all my little things out of the way here. Blue. I just picked an ultramarine blue, but you can use any blue that you want. I'm going to try to get quite a little bit of blue out here. I'm using a pretty big canvas, so I need to get enough to make the water, cover the canvas relatively well here. Of course, that presupposes that there's actually paint in this tube. Let's see what we got going on here. There we go. Now we got some blue. Okay. All right, blue. And let's do a little bit. I already have white out. I already have some brown out. So I'm going to take some of my blue, and this is pretty thick actually. I'm going to take some of my brown and add it in there. I'm going to just dip my brush in a little bit of water here just to thin this out slightly. Okay, so I'm ending up with this kind of bluish color. I'm going to add a dash, just a dash of green. Okay, so here's the blue that I mixed. It's kind of a very brownish, bluish color. I'm going to add some green to it and more brown, I think. Let me see what that looks like on the canvas. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that it needs a little bit of white in there. I'm going to add just a little bit of white to it, and then look how it comes out. That's, to me, that's the perfect color. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more white, I think, over here and put it on this side. Okay, so our land mass is going to come from up here to over here to here, all the way down here. It's going to come across here like this and down past center and end up right here, maybe. Okay, so what I did is I said, okay, this is going to be my landmass. And the only reason I did that is so I don't necessarily have to paint that part of it. So I actually need a little bit more brown here. Okay, so I want this nice and smooth up here. And it's going to go right into my red. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. Let's do this. And I'm going to go right up against that red. Okay, so I'm thinking a little bit more brown in here. And if you don't like it, by the way, you don't have to put it in. Okay, let me see. Paper towel. Okay, so I just kind of drop the cap into the orange paint, which is always fun, right? And let's see if we can get a little bit more brown out here, which I think is a possibility. Oh, it's a possibility. Success. Okay. So what I want that for is I want to take that and add it to here, add a little bit more brown, blue, and only because I feel like I need more. So making more, making more. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring this all over here. Okay, and that's really, really brownish. So I'm gonna dip into my blue and just pull the blue into the picture. Okay, a little bit more white in here. A little bit more, loosen the paint up just a little bit and get them on here. There we go. And if you're looking at this and thinking, oh my goodness, there are a lot of different values of blue on there, you would be absolutely right. Okay. So add, change, make it the way you like it. You are creator. Okay, so I'm coming almost up against my red almost. I'm going to go ahead and do this edge. I have a student who does her edges afterwards. I don't recommend afterwards. It's very difficult to match the paint and, if you're mixing the colors yourself. And then, because when you do the edges, it's very difficult not to get it actually on the canvas. So I suggest doing it now. And see, that would be why. Hello. Okay, move you over. All right, so I need a smooth water line here. Okay, so let's get that in there. Bring this right into my red. Okay. So look at how beauteous that is. I'm liking it. Okay, let us do the other side. Okay, and again, I have my picture, my source document nearby. Okay, so all this is landmass here, but we're going to bring this up this way, like this, and come almost into our red. Some of my red is going into my blue, which I don't think I mind. I think I'm liking it just a tad. Okay, so I'm going right into my, let's see, this is coming down this way. Oh, this should be green. Okay, so maybe we'll make it a little bit green so I know. Always helps to guide dots, guidelines, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get the picture the way you want it to be, that's what you do. Okay. Now, I'm going to take just a little bit of this white. Yeah. I'm going to bring some of this blue into my red, and it kind of looks kind of purpley, but we want to drag some of the color there because eventually that red has to look like part of the water. Okay, then I'm going to dip into my white with the same blue brush with all the blue paint on it. And I want to start putting in some of this water line here. So there's some here. Okay, and as we move away from the highlight here, the white becomes less white. We want to keep those lines relatively straight. I mean, there's not a lot of waves in this water, so it's kind of still. Okay, so we're going to bring it right into the red a little bit here. Okay, starting to get a watery look. We're liking it. I'm gonna clean clean the excess off the brush, only because I'm ending up with pink over here. So let's do that. Taking a little bit more of the white and getting in some white, kind of little tiny wave action here. Okay. Okay, now pick up a little bit of the blue. Get that going on in here. Nice. Okay, let's not get red on there. Let's take a look and see up close. You can see some of that water. Want a little bit more white in through here. Okay, and if you start to get red, clean off the brush. Okay, so eventually all these colors need to kind of mesh together and look like water. Okay, there we go. Got one side. Let's do the other side. So just the white here. All right. Yeah. Okay, and again, I'm getting a little bit of pink in there. So let's go ahead and clean off the brush. Pull some of this out. Again, there's the tendency to kind of wiggle this. So try not to wiggle. Try to get those in there straight. Okay, I'm back into the blue and adding some more blue here. Let's take a look at that. Let's look at this blue and look at that blue. Okay, it's a little bit whiter over here. This part looks pretty good over here. So let's just blend out some of our edges just a little bit. Okay. We're going to go a little whiter on this side. Okay. Let's clean up some of this edge. Sometimes students will ask me, how do you know when enough is enough? Enough is enough when you like it. So we're going to go, let's see, let's do right here. Let's pick up some more white and do right there. Clean the brush. Let's do a little bit more here and here. Okay, now dipping back into the red, okay, and bringing the red out on this side a little bit more, like this. Okay, I'm going to turn it towards me a little bit so I don't lose where the middle is here. Okay. All right, so take a look. I'm going to come up close so that you can see it, right? So I think that could use a little bit more blend wool. You kind of wait for it to dry a little bit. And then I'm going, once it dries a little bit more, I'm going to redo a little bit of that red and make it a little bit brighter so it matches the moon a little bit more. But we don't want it to be a bright red, okay? See how this is the same color as this? So this is the red with the brown in it and a little bit of the orange in there for highlight. So that's what we want to do. And I really think that this needs to just dry out just a tad more. Okay, let's let it do its thing. I'm going to go back to my red and redo my moon a little bit over here. Now this moon is pretty dry, so I am having absolutely no trouble at all doing this. And the reason that I want to put some more coats of paint on it is because don't forget, we're going to have a tree on top of there. Okay, a little bit more orange. Go over here. Give us a nice little highlight. Okay, some brown in our red. Here's the brown. At least is that black? Wait a minute, where's my brown? Okay, that is the brown. Okay, so I'm gonna mix it here. I'm gonna put some of the brown in it, a little bit more red, a little bit more brown. Okay, I'm gonna go over my brown part. Don't go outside the boundary line of your moon. You will not be a happy camper, let's put it that way, if you go ahead and change this boundary line. You have to fix it after how far you've come. You will not be happy. You will not be happy at yourself. Okay. This poor moon, the more I do to it, the better I like it. It's going to be like, it's going to have like 20 coats of paint on it. Oh, it just sat on paint. That's actually not not an unusual thing. All right, I'm good. Okay, so let's see here. Anything else? Anything else to do? I'm thinking that looks pretty ding dong good. I want this part to dry a little bit, so I'm gonna put my brush in the water. I'm gonna take this and just dry my water just a little bit because again, see how nice and vibrant this moon is? And we want the water because I put a lot of white and pink side, and it's not awful, but could use a little help. So we're just gonna dry it a little bit, make it tacky, and while we're doing that, we can actually do this land. Oh, you know what we should do? Yeah, they're clouds, but they're kind of brownish reddish clouds. And while we have our brownish reddish color out there, we should have some hot cocoa and then put our clouds on. So, what brush shall I use? I'm going to use a brush that I was using for the red. And yeah, this is a really bad reason, a lazy reason. But the reason that I'm using a brush that has red, I don't have to clean it as good. I just have to get all the fluid out of it. Okay, but see, it's still coming out kind of reddish on the paper towel. But because I'm going to be mixing red and brown together, I don't have to make sure it's like really clean. So don't tell anyone I told you that. But okay, that's what I'm going to do. I already have some brown and red mixed because I was working on my moon. So here I'm making a little bit more brown and red to work with. So here's my color here. And let's see what it looks like. Not too shabby, liking it. Right. So now we're just going to decide where are those clouds. And there's one that kind of comes off the side of the picture here. So my big one is going to go like right here, maybe. This one's coming off the side, and it's kind of like right here, maybe. And again, do things need to be exact? No. And it's actually kind of nicer if they're more your work. Okay, so I'm just kind of squiggling this on. I don't want it to, I don't want it to look like I drew it on, but I want it to definitely look cloudy. So here's my cloud, and the bottom can kind of be flat, or kind of a rounded flat look here. And again, kind of going off off my edge here. Okay, so that's, let me see if that's as far as I want it to go. But look how close that is to the moon. So mine should come a little bit more. It should come to about there. Okay, so I'm going to make it bigger. Again, I'm using a bigger canvas, but the ratio should be the same. All right, so if your cloud comes relatively close to you, you're okay. Even if you have a smaller canvas, you still want to get it in the right place. Okay, so clouds, they're pretty forgiving and easy to do. Just kind of tap them on a little bit. Okay, and then there's kind of another one, like way up here, and it comes into my moon here. And actually, I guess it comes down here because it's almost touching this one. So I either have to make this one bigger or that one longer. So I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm going to make this one a little bigger, and I'm going to bring this one out to about here and this to about here. Okay. So I compromised. Okay. So this cloud is coming here. This one's coming here, like so. All right. Now I will tell you that this guy really kind of just blended in. So I think I'm going to take just a little bit of my white, just a tad, and just add it to this cloud a little bit. And it's enough of a difference to make it show up without totally changing the color here. So I want to be able to kind of see that, even though it's pretty much the same color, I want to be able to see it over the moon. Okay, so just change the tone of it a little bit. Okay, a little bit more red. Bring this over here. Bring this here. Okay, so I'm going to, I think, leave that because, again, looking for a variation in here, just so I can see where that cloud is. Now, I lightened that cloud a little bit so that you can see it up against this moon. The other thing that you can do is darken the moon around it. So I'm going to take that same red, add a little bit more brown to it, and then I'm going to go right around my cloud and on the moon. Okay, so again, there's enough contrast on my moon so that my cloud shows up. And typically, if you have a problem with things showing up or whatever it might, always kind of think contrast. Contrast is usually the answer. Okay, so now I put a lot of really brownish red on here. So I just want to blend it in a bit with the rest of the moon here. Okay, and it really just has to be darker around that cloud in order for us to see it. A little dab will do us. I don't know who's old or young enough or old enough, but there used to be a men's hair men's hair cream. It used to be called Brill cream. And little dab will do ya. I think it was Brill cream. So if I'm wrong, don't send me hate mail. Just say you were wrong. People get grizzly at you. That's not right. Go on, sorry. That's what I think it was. It'll dabble do you. Okay, so I want this to be red again. All right, good job. Let's do that. Okay, that's looking pretty good, I have to say. Let's make this a little redder into here. Give a little texture there. Clean off the brush. And again, we're going to let that dry out just a teeny bit, and then we'll go over that spot. In the meantime, we have 1, 2, 3 more clouds to do. All right, so I'm going to take my cloud color, which is red and brown. Okay, red and brown. And figure out where my clouds are going on the other side. So if I look at this picture, there is a cloud coming off, almost off the edge here. It's the highest cloud in the sky, which means that's over this one. So it's up here, and that looks good to me. So I'm going to put a little dot right there. And then there's another one that is almost touching that. So that means this one's up here, but it's overlapping the moon. So that one's over here. But there's one kind of way down here that stops here, but in the moon, and comes almost all the way to the edge here. Okay, and then it's pretty big here. So I'm going to do that and that. So I'm basically just kind of drawing with my paintbrush. Okay, so the bottom line here, and for you and for all students, is that if you really want to paint, you should actually do some practice drawing first. Okay, because in reality, you are drawing with your paintbrush. Okay, so I'm mixing more of that color. Right, I'm going to put it over here, but I need it to come all the way down here, like so. It's a pretty bumpy little cloud, so I mean, you can make it bumpy or not, totally up to you. Okay, this guy comes out like this. There's some bumps under here, like that. Bring it out here. Okay, so I'm actually going to stop that one there, let it kind of dry a little bit, and then I'll take another look at it. This one, let's do this one first so we know where the other guy is going. So this one comes out like this and almost comes off the corner. And I think mine actually just did. Okay, so now I'm going to put a little bit more paint and come under here. Okay, I'm doing that because of where that one's placed. And if you don't like where they're placed, by all means, move them, is what I was trying to say. Okay, so I like when they overlap the moon a little bit. Okay, so that was tell ya, I'm like so excited. It looks cool. So now when I look at it head on, they look okay to me. When I look in the mirror, they look like they're on a slight slant, which means we're gonna stand up. And another trick you can do is keep your work the upside down test, because if you're right-handed, the left side of your brain is dominant, or the left hemisphere of your brain is dominant. So if you do look upside down, you're forcing the other hemisphere of the brain to be part of it more. So as I look at this, I can see that this one actually is on a slant. So I'm going to unslant it because I don't like it like that. Same thing with this one. A little bit slanted in the wrong direction. And this one is a little bit also. So let's just, I'm not going to do too much to that one. Okay, but I am going to look at this and say, yo, that looks mucho better. Okay, let me see. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Not too shabby. Fix you. This. All right, I'm thinking let it dry, so this part dry even a little bit more. Let's take our green and do, let's do this landmass over here. Okay, so this is kind of greenish brownish, but then there's some green highlights on it. So again, clean your brush, and pick a brush that you like. Mine are all dirty, so I can just pick the one I like. I don't have any that have green on it, so I'm going to have to actually clean a brush. Okay, let's see how this works. Not too bad. Let's see. Well, there's still some pink on there. You can tell when your brushes are clean when you get a paper towel and you just kind of mush it a little bit, and then you look at the paper towel. If there isn't any color on it, then you've gotten all the color off the brush. You know, this is like this. Don't tell anyone that I did this 5 times. Okay, I'm gonna pick this up and put it somewhere else, like way over here. And I'm gonna have some hot cocoa. And I'm moving the hot cocoa away from my butt because that's what keeps knocking everything over. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna take my green. Okay, here's my green. And I'm going to put it like where the brown is because I'm gonna mix brown in there. Like this. Looking for a nice earthy kind of green here. So earth and brown earthy colors in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it right here on my canvas. Like I gave myself some green guidelines, which was very cool of me to do for myself. Thank you. Okay. So I'm coming here. This kind of comes down straight here, comes down again straight over here. And then we have this whole islandy looking thing over here. And right up here, actually. And it kind of comes down again. Now, this is, landmass is kind of a forgiving kind of thing to do. So don't be too hard on yourself if it doesn't look like the handout. Okay, so this is the front of that. So hopefully we can fix that without now that we put this landmass on there. Okay, so let's do that. And I'm going to fill in this whole landmass here. Okay, so not too worried about stroke lines right now. As long as I have this kind of contour that I can work with here. Okay, so I'm taking this brownish, greenish color and just kind of putting it on the canvas. This brush is nice and soft, so it's actually leaving a lot of texture as it kind of goes along here. Kind of cool. Okay, so again, doing my edging. Okay, so let's do this. Let's bring this over here. Let's look at this bottom. And then we'll just run this right along like this. right here. So now I have a pretty cool landmass. As I'm looking at this, there's quite a dip here. So do I want that much of a dip? My tree is going to go here and here, up here. So is that enough? I'm going to raise this slightly here, just a little bit. Okay, so I have something for this tree to kind of get onto here. All right, so I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm going to take some of my orange, okay, some of my orange here, and I'm going to mix it into some of the green and a little bit of the lighter color, the white into here. I'm going to mix it right there. Okay, so I have this greenish, brownish, kind of mucky, yucky color, but look what's going to happen here. That's like perfect. Liking it. Okay, so let's put that on here, onto the edge. Okay, then I'm going to put this coming down here. So what I'm actually doing here is starting to make like little dips and goes and valleys in through here because I want this to look like a rock that has some texture to it or a land mass that has some texture going on there. Okay, so just kind of play a little bit until you kind of get what looks good to you. There's another little ledge over here. So the ledges are like where the highlights are. Okay. So see how it starts to look a little bit, let's see here, there you go. Starts to look like there's some flat areas on it. This wants to come this way and around here. Little guy is coming this way, here. Okay, and if you need a smaller brush to do this, go ahead and get a smaller brush. Okay. So for right now, I don't feel like I need one, but I can see where I will start adding some smaller detail in here. Okay, I'm going to put some here. I want this to be where the tree is going to hang out. I'm going to take some of my green and put some of this green here. It's actually too bright. Let me go darker, darker green. Let's put some dark in through here, here, and then let's get some dark in through here. So we want this to kind of move a little bit. Okay, there's a darker area down here. So let's do a little light on the top, dark on the bottom, and that is what makes it work. Okay, so we want a highlight on the top where suppose, there would be some light source here from the moon, kind of a red, but that's why these are such stronger colors. Okay, let's get a little brown going here. So tomorrow I am actually going to an art reception, Buttonwoods Museum in Haverhill, and I'll give you the date. So today is April 30th, 2022. So depending on when you're actually viewing this, the exhibit. It's a student exhibit, and young students, like teenagers, school age, at Buttonwoods Museum on Water Street in Haverhill. So if you're not doing anything and you want to venture on out, the time is 2:30 to 3:30, and they're going to be giving Robert Gablowski is the founder of the GHAA, which is Great Haven Arts Association. And when he passed away, his family established a scholarship fund for students who are learning and going to school for art and so on and so forth. So the board meets, or there's a special board, not our board members, but there's a special board to go over applicants and samples that they send in and so on and so forth. It's a really kind of a really rigorous kind of process actually. But and then once a year they give like $1,000 scholarship to a deserving student. And actually, it can get pretty tough because it could be like more than one deserving student, but you can only award one scholarship. So that's the part that makes it difficult, certainly. But they do that every year. They take on that tough job of doing that, and they do a really, really good job. And they put a lot of work into it. And don't forget that all of these folks who are doing all this are doing it on a volunteer basis. So, so they put a lot of work into it, a lot of thought, a lot of research, that type of thing. So tomorrow, uh, the 31st of April, or wait, how many days out of in April? So now I have to go look. So if today is 4:30, today is so so tomorrow anyway is um, when we're doing that, and it's at Buttonwoods Museum, 240 Water Street, in Haverhill, Mass. 2:30 to 3:30. And I believe that the awards will actually be given out probably around quarter of 3 o'clock. So if you want to just come for that, that's okay too. Depends on your schedule and what you want to do. Um, but join us, and uh, Deborah, Deborah Carpenter is Bob Gawowski's one of his daughters, and I believe she will be in the house, so you will get a chance to meet her if you'd like, and talk to her and find out what happened with Dad and how he kind of came up with the whole concept. I think Bob Gawowski was actually um, before he founded the association, was a newspaper reporter for a newspaper in Haverhill. So there's kind of an interesting backstory there, which is kind of cool. Always kind of cool to know that stuff. So by all means, if it's a free event, so absolutely come, and say hello and introduce yourself. I will be there. Deb Gloss, not Deb Gillespie, she's Debbie Carpenter, but she is his daughter. She will be there. She'll tell you some cool stuff. And I think there are some light refreshments there. Don't make me swear on a stack of Bibles or anything. But come and say hi to me. I will be there. I am Joan Turner. So come and say hi. I saw you on Break It TV, and you said come, and here I am. Okay, so I want to introduce myself. So come say hello to me, and I will introduce you to Debbie if you like, and you can talk and maybe again, find out a little bit more scoop about how all this came about. And we celebrated 50 years of the Haven Arts Association at the turn of 2022. So we just had a big, huge 50th year celebration as well. So, so again, come see the artwork, come I'll meet the artist, I'll meet the founder's daughter, and anything else for you. Come and say, hi, Joan, you know, you will see me there. I will be there. You will recognize me. And we would love to have you there. Okay, I'm looking at my landmass, and I should talk to you more often because I totally love my landmass here. All right, so I'm going to hold it a wee bit closer to you so that you can see this awesomely green-brown mass. And this is just about dry enough for me to do some more work on. And what I would like to do is make it redder into here and kind of that reddish, brownish color. So I'm cleaning off my brush yet again here, and this time I'm trying to get the green off of it. So here's a relatively clean piece of paper. Somebody said to me, do you go through like a whole roll of paper towels at each tutorial you do? So I cracked the off and I said, no, I said, I have to go through a half or something, you know. But the students, they think it's, I actually have paper towels delivered to my house um, by the cartonful, and it's on like one of those regular delivery schedules, like when you were young, you used to have milk delivered to your house. I know I'm really dating myself now, but we used to have milk delivered to the house, and it was in bottles, not in cartons, and there was cream at the top. All the cream would be at the top, and my mother would scoop off the cream, and she would beat it and add some sugar to it, and we had whipped cream. So way back, way back then. So now we have different things delivered to us. And if you're an art teacher or an artist in general, one of them is paper towels. Okay, so my brush is clean. Remember, it's clean when you wipe it on a paper towel and you don't get any color from the brush. So I'm going to take my brownish red once again. Okay, and if you need to add more to it, go forth and conquer. I'm going to add a little bit more of this color in here. Whoops, don't go to orange. Okay, so here's my brownish reddish color. And so I'm going to go ahead and add that to my picture because now it's actually dry enough that I can get some of that color on there. Okay, especially close up to this moon. So I want to go here with it, here with it. I kind of want to maintain that shape and form that I gave it. Okay, and it's going to come. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is when I began to add the colors here, the reds and the whites kind of made this kind of pink. So I'm just kind of going over that and darkening it again so it looks like my moon. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and let that dry out a little as well. And I like the blues that are here, so I'm not going to do anything to those. But I'm going to let this layer dry and then just put just a teensy bit of white in there. I don't want it to come out pink again, so I'm going to just let it dry a little bit. So we are going to go ahead and do this tree. Okay, now I know you guys have all been looking forward to doing that tree. Okay. And since I have my brownish reddish out, I'm doing my clouds now. And when I say I'm doing them again, I'm just giving them an extra coat. An extra coat of paint. Voila. What a good looking cloud. I really like those clouds. Let's see how our red is doing here. I have a little bit more over here. Yeah, I'm kind of liking it, kind of liking it. So we're gonna let that be. And now we're gonna get to the fun part. Can we skip to the good? Can we skip to the good part? There's a TikTok guy, or voice, or whatever, who says that. Like a TikTok will start coming along, and the person, whoever's working on it, will start doing something, and so this voice comes and goes, "Can you skip to the good part?" And then they start the good part. Don't ask me why. I don't know why that intrigues me, but it does. Okay, tree. This tree, we want to analyze this tree. It's sitting on that landmass, which is right here. All right. Then it kind of comes up at a little bit of an angle, goes over the tree line, comes up a little bit here, comes to the middle, comes almost to the edge, and then back up that way. Got all that? Okay. So look at it and just kind of, we want to, once we get the direction correct, doing the actual tree will not be a hard thing for you to do. So take a few seconds and just really, really kind of look at that tree and let's analyze it just a tad. So we really want to kind of really look at this a lot. And then I'm going to just water down a little white paint. And I'm going to keep this picture really, really close to me. And I'm going to go ahead and just draw in some guidelines. Now, yours don't have to be white. I just want to make mine white so that you can kind of see where they're going. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up close so you can kind of see. I did it a very kind of watery white. But now I'm going to actually start filling in with brown, greens. There's a little bit of reds in there. And then we're going to finish with just dotting on some of this white. So I'm going to take a good size brush and clean it off. It has some red on it. I'm not going to worry about that too much because I actually would like a little bit of red in there. So I'm going to take this small brush and put it in the water. And then I'm going to take some brownish, greenish, brown mixed in with green. And I'm going to actually start very carefully to fill in this tree. Now I'm going to hold this right by my head, my little head, so I can see what I'm doing here. All right. Now, again, does this need to be absolutely exact? Of course not. Okay. But if you like the picture, you kind of want to maintain the basic shape, if you will. I have this little guy coming around here. Okay, so these down here are actually roots, I guess. Yes, they're roots. And this side, which has a lot of green in it. I don't have my green in it yet because I want to get that. I don't have the green in it yet. I want to get the basic shapes down here first. Okay, we have another root down here, and they actually need to pick up this canvas to get it on here. This one comes up here like this. This one comes like this, and up here and around here, like this. This one comes down here. So I don't know if you can hear me because I need to be facing the speaker here. So we have a good sized tree going on here. So I use kind of a good sized brush because I'm just basically laying down color for right now. So the base of this tree is pretty thick. It's a pretty big tree, and even these branches up here are on the fat side. So if you feel more comfortable using a smaller brush, by all means, go right ahead. So you can see I keep looking at this picture. I know it's kind of up here, but I keep looking from the picture to the canvas, picture, canvas, okay? Because we want to kind of, the shape I think is kind of important because it kind of breaks up our moon. Okay, and now the only branches left are these smaller branches. So I am going to go ahead and move to a smaller brush. Going to kind of leave this one out. I'm not going to put it in the water because I'm going to rebrush some of this. So for these thinner branches in here, use your smaller brush. Make some of these nice smooth connections. Okay, and we might even use even a smaller brush to get some of the small branches on. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there, little at a time. It's exciting. This is going to be a little darker over here. Comes up here. And don't forget, our moon has an awful lot of paint on it. So if you really put a lot of pressure on the brush, you're going to end up moving some of that. So do it carefully. Okay. I'm going to go smaller, see if I can get a smaller brush here. So I have a smaller, so I'm going to try and get in some of these small branches. So actually I'm just doing brown right now, but you could mix some greens and whatnot in there already if you're already ahead of me. Okay, so some loose branches in here. Some thicker, you can still work on the thicker branches as well. Okay, so we are so getting here. Absolutely love it. This picture, I was very drawn to it when I saw it. I kind of love the colors in it. And I love the angles. I love the angles in the tree. Stuff for a drippy nose here. And as you go along, if you see something that needs to be fixed somewhere else, I try not to, I try to do it when I see it, that way I don't forget it. Voila. Some of this paint is really thick on here. So I'm just really kind of laying it on and trying to get a little texture while I'm at it. A little bit more. A little thicker over here, a little bump over there. Liking it, liking it. So this is my basic tree shape. Okay. Okay, and now I want to start to actually do some of the color work. Now, the colors that I see in here, and I understand that, depending on your computer or whatever you're using to see this, some of the color variations are a little bit different. But what I see is kind of a lot of greens in through here. So let's pick up some green. And actually, I might need some more green. And this is the one I kept dropping on the floor. So I'm going to not do that anymore. I hope. Okay, so some green. Put it way over here so I don't throw it around. So I'm going to take my kind of big brush, and it still has a lot of brown on it, but I'm not even going to clean it off. I'm just going to dip into my green over here. Okay, so I'm just going to uh, dip dip the brush in, and what I see is on this side, there's quite a bit of green mixed in with that brown. So I'm going to blend it in just a little bit. And if it comes out too green, just pick up a little bit of brown here and go over it. But you do want the green to show through. So it wants to have a green value to it. So big brush here and here, and then switch to your smaller brush, and maybe put some going down into this root work into here. Okay, and keep looking at that handout. Students don't often look enough at the handouts. And even if you're doing your very own composition, like you saw this outside and you took a picture of it, you should be looking at the picture just as much, if not more, as you're looking at your canvas. So this green looks like it comes all the way up here. Actually, all the way up. So I'm going to take it there. And I really like this in here with the brown in it. I'm going to pick up some brown with my smaller brush and not follow. Okay, let's put some brown in there as well. Nice, nice, nice. Liking it, liking it. Okay, a little bit more up here. Okay, and up here, I think I'm going to put more brown. A little bit more down here. Switch into my big brush. A little bit more green. Little green up here. Here, here, here. And that little guy needs a lot of help. So we're going to give him just a little bit of green in through here. Okay, going back to my brown. Okay, so what you're looking for here is the right combination. Right combination. What you like. When you look at it, you go, oh, that was awesome. Then you have the right combination. Define our roots a little bit more by bringing in some of this lighter color here. more green. Okay. Oops, I was gonna blow my nose on one of those. That's not gonna work. I'll have a red nose, like a reindeer. Okay, so I went over my land mass, thinking it was part of my tree, and now I have to fix my land mass here. Okay, so again, let's just kind of work this here, here. Let's kind of take that off of there because I'm gonna have to redo it. So pay attention to what you're doing is the lesson here. Okay, so a little bit going on over here, here. All right, so now we have one here, we need one here, and going off the canvas. So let's take this. My painting is stuck to my easel here. That's okay. We don't mind. Okay, so let's bring this one off of here like this. Okay, so now we have another root growing here. This one's coming off of here like this. So we have a really interesting tree here. Where the roots are kind of going here, there, and everywhere. Okay, let's see if that's all about there. Still a little bit more here. Give our root some good stuff going on. Okay, so now I have a lot of green going through my tree, but there's a part here that's the same red as this, so Tuscan red, all right? So I do have still some red here. So I'm going to use that and some brown, but I need more red because that red is dry. These paints really do, they really do dry kind of fast. So, I mean, we have been painting for, I want to say about 3 hours. So the fact that some of it dries out is not necessarily a big surprise. Okay, so I have my red and I have my brown here. Okay, so remember, you know, our tree is kind of basic brown, but we're looking for a little bit of interest in here. And brush it in. Oh, nice. It's it's the touch it needed. Okay, I like it. Let's do some more. So exciting. Okay, I'm gonna move it a little towards me and put in little red areas here. Brushing them in, and remember that red and um, red and green make brown, and your tree is brown, but we're getting to see some of the greens and some of the reds in the color combination. So now just adding some red here. Uh, to me, it makes it, and even when I do something black, if I add color to it, I get excited. It's very cool. Okay, then take this smaller brush and put some of the red up, 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 and then into my branches. I'm going to brush some of this red out just a little bit because it's very red, which is okay with me. I put a little bit more in there. All right, so we want some red up and through here. Put a little here. Not going to put too much red up in here because we don't want it to look like the branches are see-through and that we're seeing through them and seeing the moon. Okay, so we're going to keep these relatively dark, darker. And if you need more color, you can put some more green. So a little bit more color through here. And a little bit more on this root. That actually looks pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so kind of take a look at things, right? And while that is doing its thing, I think of it as kind of fermenting, which is not an artistic term at all. It's more like a winery term. However, while that's drying, I'm going to take some white and put some in through here. Okay, so just a little bit, just one little bit in here. So we're not looking for pink. We don't want the pink. Okay, see that little bit of white in there. Okay, let us a little bit more red in here. And I know that we've spent quite a bit of time here on this piece. You certainly don't have to do it all in one sitting. I'm doing it all in one sitting because we want to finish it and have you be able to do it in one sitting if you want to. But you really, really, absolutely don't need to. So I think that looks good. I think my tree looks good. Oh, getting excited here. Here we go. We're going to put a little white leaves on. And I'm going to do that with a brush that has a little bit of a point on it. So this brush is kind of big, but it has a tip on it that I think I can use. And when I clean it, it's still coming out red. So I'm going to clean it some more. And we're still coming out red. Okay, so you don't want this part to come out pink. So I'm going to say make sure your brush is clean. Okay, now we're cooking. Cooking. There we go. Nice. It's a nice dry brush. Okay, I'm taking as much of the fluid and water out of so I'm really drying that brush. And now I'm going to bring the point back a little bit. And I'm just going to do a little bit of dabbing here. So dabbing in the white paint, but then do this on your plate so that you don't have a lot of paint on this. And then we're going to begin to just dab a little bit of white on here where the branches are. And we're going to make kind of leafy looking gestures on here. See them? Nice. You could use a really tiny brush, or you know what? Let's try the Q-tip. Do I have more? There you go. You have everything all over the place. You have to look around because when you look, all you see is one big mass of stuff. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to dip in here and then do the same thing. You know what? I think I like this better. Let me show you up close. It's kind of cool. See that? Okay, so dipping in the white like this, and then wherever these little stemmy things are, just kind of dabbing. Isn't that awesome? And it's relatively easy to do here. Okay, so there's a whole bunch over here that I can do. A whole bunch over here. And as the paint starts to wear off the Q-tip, it adds even a little bit more dimension. So again, I'm holding this picture really, really close and getting an idea for where I want these to go. Very cool. This is actually fun. The whole thing is fun, but some parts are more fun than others. There's even some down here, like around the roots, I guess where it's fallen off the tree. This one actually has a little bit of white on it. So I'm just going to scratch it right in there. This actually has a lot right in through here. Nice. I have to say, this is cool. Okay, so this is coming down this way and almost into my cloud. Actually, it's coming over the cloud. So drip it on over. What do you think? Is that not cool? And I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I'm even dabbing into the white that's around the aura of the moon. And you can actually see it because it's a brighter white. I'm gonna sit for a second. Sit. Here's my tissue. Here we go. So stop every few moments and take a look at it and make sure it's doing what you want it to do. And I'm going to take it down here so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. And don't be afraid to kind of go back and rework a little bit. Okay. So these are kind of really kind of droopy. This kind of comes like this, droops down this way. They're almost like on every branch. And I'll tell you, the white is very striking up against this really dark brown. And of course, the red, orange of the moon. So when you're looking at this, you want to look at shapes on here. This one comes way over here and it droops down. Oh, and actually comes up with a cloud a little bit. So let it do that. Nice and thick. Same thing here. Dripping and drooping. They have a lot up here and a lot up here. Coming over and coming off the moon. Okay, now we have quite a bit coming down this edge and actually almost touching this cloud. So I'm going to bring a whole bunch down here. Let's see. So we have a cluster. This maybe could be more of a cluster up here and down here. Let's give us more. Okay, I like that cluster. This one coming way over here like this and down here. Okay. A little too much paint over there. There we go. So where do we need more? That's what we're looking for. We're looking at this picture and saying, okay, that looks really cool. Where do we need more? Okay, so we have this cluster here. We have a little here. We have some coming off here and going into our cloud. But it could break up our cloud just a little bit more here. Okay. All right, so what I'm seeing is that there's a whole bunch up here that's not on my picture. And I think it adds a nice balance to the picture. So I'm actually going to put it on there. Again, holding this close by, coming up here, coming all the way up. So I'm darting away over here. Okay, let's bring this all the way over. So again, we're really paying attention to shape here. Okay, so what I'm kind of seeing here is that we could have used a few more branches up here. So we're going to take our small brush and just paint a little couple, few here and there. Okay, so I'm taking my brown and I'm going to connect some of these up here. Okay, just very little tiny branches that give us some connection. Okay, let's get a little closer look. Little tiny branches in there. Okay, now let's take a look at our work. Okay, here's our source, and here's our finished picture. What do you think? Masterpiece. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm my own best fan club here. So I'm really, really, truly liking this picture. I think it looks awesome. I'm gonna just keep the camera on there for a while. And I'm gonna pick this up and kind of move this stuff out of the way so you can get an even better look. Okay, let's get this all out of here. And let's move this a little bit closer, closer, closer so you can see. Okay, so we have some green here, we have some red here, we have our roots doing their thing down here, over here. Okay. So, if you look at theirs and you look at ours, I don't know. I think ours is a lot better. What do you think? You know what? I'm sure that whenever I do a fun and paint or something like that, everyone always does just, you know that they're all kind of using the same source document, but they all come out really, really different, which is kind of cool because it shows the personality of the people who are doing the painting. So it's kind of exciting that that happens. More stuff on the floor. Okay, so I think we can call this a finished piece. And again, it was kind of a long tutorial. So if in fact you want to do it in 2 stages, absolutely go ahead because whether you're watching this as a YouTube, whether you're watching it on DATV, it's recorded. So just slow it down, stop it, go back to it, whatever. So sorry about that. Whatever you want to do. Okay. I'm gonna paint all over the place. What can I say? So once again, I always, always want to make sure we thank the Drake-It, Friends of the Drake-It Elderly, the Drake-It Cultural Council, and especially Bethany Lovelace at GAT, Drake-It Council on Aging, and Ron Zimmerman at Drake-It TV, Tara Slimyad at BATV, Debbie Shirley at GHAA, and all the other people who are involved in bringing all this cool stuff to us, to you, to me. My name again, Joan Turner. We are doing classes. We are exciting. We are going to be back into our building on Mammoth Road in Drake-It. Drake-It Council on Aging is now putting all this stuff back in the building, and I believe June or July, but it's in the newsletter. I saw it in the newsletter. And so we will be doing our regular weekly art class, which is going to be on Wednesdays from noon to 2. And we're going to do a fun and paint once a month, okay, at the center, along with a lot of other cool stuff. They do yoga, they do some Uh, they do exercises. I know I don't have the right name for it, but they do these chair exercises. I actually did some of them. They're like awesome. They're like ones that you can actually do. You're not killing yourself, but you can feel that there's a benefit there. Okay, so there's transportation for people who need it to get to the center, so on and so forth. I know that they help with food and supplies and so on and so forth. So by all means, give them a call if you need any help. They have been helping right through the whole pandemic issue, which I guess is not completely over yet. Yeah, when are we done here? You know? But I'm sure we're starting a little bit at a time to get back to some of our regular scheduling, and it feels good. It feels good. I am Joan Turner. 978-807-7608 is my cell phone number. I screen the calls, so leave me a message and say, hey, I have questions. Call me back. My name is whatever your name is, and then leave your phone number, but also tell me when is a good time to call you back, like daytime, Wednesday at 3, or somewhere like that. So give me a call if you have questions about the paints, the pictures, the classes, Absolutely anything at all. Okay. Any questions about the center? Again, call Bethany. Anne Marie Palmer is the activities director. Noelle is doing exercise and probably 10 zillion other things. They actually all they're very I know I say this all the time, but they're a very caring group. They really care about people. So absolutely call them if you need them. If they can't help you, they will get you in touch with someone who can. Okay, so I hope you'll join us for art classes. We have a blast. Um, and all the other things. In the past, we've done music and some chorus type stuff and program, just all kinds of good stuff. So read your newsletters, come back and talk to us. And if you have ideas about what you'd like to have to see or do, let us know. Okay. Thank you all. Be legendary, my friends. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.